things now. No pressure.
And speak into the mic. I've actually never done it with this phone, because I used to have a little dictaphone thing happening, and...
Okay, but already, see, it's recording now, already, the chances of it being a good podcast, you're already going to have to edit out the part in the beginning of you saying that you've never used this microphone before.
Maybe not.
Or do you have that style in your podcast where you want to, like, leave in the mistakes and stuff?
Do you leave the mistakes in your show?
Oh, and I would take them out if I could. The problem is they're mistakes. And, I guess people think that it's part of my style that I have mistakes in my show on purpose, but I'm just not that polished an artist that I can have a perfect show. If I could, I'd probably go that route. But because
that was boring.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some people say that, and some people say it's better to have those flaws and stuff like that. I can't even comment on that because I don't know whether I'd be able to do a perfect show. And if I did, I maybe would. But the thing is, for better or worse, I do incorporate the flaws in the show because that's...
Did you organize the Crazy Lady tonight?
Oh, no, people always say that to you. That's one of the weirdest things that you get in comedy is that people say, was it a plant? But what you don't realize is it would be so hard to plant someone and actually get them to say the right thing at the right time. It's like there's a certain energy you get when people have been laughing for a while. People get into like a laughing frame of mind, and then all you need to do is have any kind of basic timing, and then you can chat to the audience and it will turn out funny, Like, you've just got to play on whatever you find in the audience, and, it's the spontaneity which makes it funny. So
True.
If someone was planted, it wouldn't really work.
Yeah, I know that Laurie and... also that did that sketch show with him. Bits of Fry and Laurie.
Okay.
They planted people in the audience, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh,
speaking of which, who inspires you as comedians?
I get that question a lot, and it's a tough one because I have a lot of influences. I guess because I'm a musical comedian, my main influence would be musical guys, and that would be like Stephen Lynch, Tim Minchin, Bo Burnham.
Oh, he's good.
Even stuff like The Lonely Island, just because what they did, they just flipped the script in making it so polished and commercial and saying, and it's funny. And, Flight of the Conchords, of course. And
how do you feel about Weird Al Yankovic?
Yeah, I mean, Weird Al Yankovic is like kind of more the old school of musical comedy, but in a way, when you hear my parodies, you can see that I am quite influenced.
You have to be.
And I mean, I grew up with those albums, and I used to love Weird Al. I mean, I think Weird Al is someone who, I think, sometimes I look at my own work and I'm like, some of it's very silly. And, I mean, some of it's like, I kind of veer between trying to be too clever and then being just normal and silly. But when I look at Weird Al's work, it's clever and silly at the same time, and I think I maybe got that from him. It's like he has the poker stuff of the pop songs and stuff like that, and in a way, especially his early stuff was, he just used to take that stuff and make it about food. He would be like, instead of I'm bad, I'm fun when you think about it. But also on his albums, he's got original songs which are amazing, which people don't know about a lot.
Not so much.
And later on, his parodies got better. Stuff like Amish Paradise, like that's
Amish Paradise was the first one that I actually listened to, and I can still remember everything.
Yeah, I mean they just got, and also the Nirvana one, when that came out, that blew my mind. Because and apparently what happened is he phoned Kurt Cobain because he used to get permission for all of his songs, and so he actually had to phone Kurt Cobain up, and so he phoned Kurt Cobain up, and he was like, apparently Kurt Cobain had just like smacked up on heroin or whatever, and he was like, hey Kurt Cobain, do you mind if I use Smells Like Teen Spirit and do a parody? And Kurt Cobain said, I guess. And then he paused and he was like, you're not going to make it about food, are you? and Weird Al Yankovic said, no, it's about how no one can hear your lyrics. And so he paused and he said, well, then you can do it.
Oh my word, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was, and that I loved. Yeah, I mean, Weird Al, he's the original. I mean, I guess influence I just cited, none of them do parody stuff. So in a way, maybe more of an influence is Weird Al. I do a lot of parody stuff.
Now, just quickly, getting to your show right now, just give me the skinny of it. What's it called? Why?
It's called White Whine. Let me be honest here and say that what happens is that there's a certain part of the year when you're getting your show together and you have to send in a blurb to the theatre, and that's around, because the theatre books their stuff early in advance. So then they said to me, you want to do a show? And I said, yeah, I want to do a show. And they said, what's it going to be called? So then you have to think of a name. So the name actually comes before the show. So I sent 5 different concepts to my management guys, and they said White Whine was the strongest. So White Whine it was. And then what's weird is that what you find is that the name actually writes the show as opposed to the other way around. Because it was called White Whine, then I started thinking of stuff around that theme. and came up with a new hour of stuff around that.
Well, I mean, that was what kind of impressed me the most about tonight. So most of the time you go and see comedians and it's like irrelevant shit that happened 2 years ago that they still joke about.
Well,
but, I mean
I
some of
wouldn't
your
say...
stuff happened last week.
Well, yeah, I mean, I try to do that. I mean, I think that there's a lot of guys I respect. The guys I respect the most do that. I think in international comedy, you don't find a lot of that. You find that people have to be, the people who are topical. You either have people who hone their style or you have people who are topical and they are so topical. But I'm very driven by the fact that once I could quit my day job and do comedy, I got very conscious of the fact that I know a lot of guys who did comedy and 3 years down the line they're still doing the same material because when they started out they were blazing, everyone loved them and it worked and they just kept on doing it. Whereas I've seen how people like, you know, who I really respect, like just always have new material every year, and I was like, I have to do that. That's why I am going to do a new one-man show every year, no matter what, because that's what forces me to write material. That's how I work. I set deadlines for myself, and that's the only way I can write. And so if it wasn't for White Whine, a lot of this material wouldn't exist. So I'm glad I did the show.
Now, do you have a normal day job, by the way?
I did. I have been a professional comic alone since 2011.
Now, if you didn't do comedy, what would you do?
Well, I had many years of doing other things. I was a journalist. That's how I started out. I've done things which are never as lucrative as my mum would have liked. I was never an actuary or doing tax or a lawyer or anything, which is probably what my mum would have liked the most. But I was a journalist. For many years an arts and entertainment journalist, writing about other people's work. But I was kind of a bit bitter because it was not what I loved. You know when you've got your own work and you're like, you think it's more important that, you know, you want to do it, but to pay the bills, you're writing about other people's work. And, I mean, whereas a lot of my journalist friends, it's their passion, you know, and it really makes all the difference whether it's your passion, you know.
And, I mean, okay, you reference a lot of politics in your show, right?
Yeah.
Do you love politics or, I don't know, do you hate it?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I mean, to say you love politics is to say that you love all the crap that's going on, you know, but I don't love politics, but I do love the fact that it provides me with fodder for my comedy. I mean, without it, I wouldn't have a job. But I like, my dad is a political analyst, so I definitely come from that background. That's what he does for a living. And in fact, a lot of people remark, because he's pretty, you know, he's much more famous than me, actually. He's always on TV and stuff, and people are always saying, like, oh, well, the apple sometimes does fall pretty far from the tree.
So he's what, deep fried dad?
No, well, I mean, he's this guy, like, saying all this really serious political commentary on all the stuff going on in our country, and then there's me, like, singing little songs about it.
It happens. I think it's rebellion or something like that. No, actually,
but at least the politics theme is something that...
There are two things that I need to know about you and your comedy.
Yeah.
Does it score your chicks?
I have a serious girlfriend who was my best friend for many years before I was a comedian, so it's definitely not because of being a comedian that I'm with her now.
So in spite of the fact that you're in comedy, she's still with you?
I mean, I get a lot of comedian friends say that they like try and use their comedy. I mean, you could say even some get into comedy just to get laid. But
does it work?
I am of the opinion that the comedian would get picked last. You know, it's like, if you're super famous, you know, if you're Trevor Noah, even, you know, you don't even have to be good looking. Trevor Noah's good looking, right? But even if you're like, I'm not saying Luis Segola is ugly, but I'm saying it's like, Luis Segola is not a model, you know? But yet he has a lot of, like, female fans who would, I'm sure, love to, because he's so famous, because fame comes with glamour, you know, but it's not by virtue of being a comedian. You know, you can be anything famous. You can be anything famous, and a woman will be attracted to you. Well, I don't think I am famous yet, so I'm not like, I think I'm like maybe semi, or, you know, so I mean, when I say famous, I'm thinking of, in South Africa, it would be guys like, maybe the top 10 would be guys like Noah, Flismus, Rabinovitz, Riyad Musa, Luis Segola, David Cowell, and Chris Forrest. You know, like, those are the guys who, like, kind of more household names, whereas I find sometimes I find myself on the bill with those guys and it blows me away, you know, but I wouldn't consider myself on, you know, the same level. But I mean, at the same time, if you're super famous and your persona is being very geeky, that won't necessarily translate into women anyway, because you look at like Drew Carey, he's like a household name, but I don't think you get many women who are like, whoa, that's Drew Carey.
Well, if I was a girl,
yeah, you wouldn't be like, ooh, that Drew Carey, he really gets me wet, you know, like.
No, the question that has to be answered, because, you know, this is all about inspiring and shit like that. Do you want to quickly talk there? Yeah.
as we were saying.
Yes, where were we now? Oh, yeah, the one very most important question that
Sorry,
we
I
have
just
to
want
ask.
people to know, like, in case they think there's a break in the podcast and they're wondering why, it's just because I had to go to the dressing room and I had a line of cocaine, and then there was a stripper and she gave me a blowjob, and now we're back.
So, on that inspirational point, if you had to give advice to an up-and-coming musical comic, what did you tell them?
I would say leave South Africa immediately, because as it stands, I've got too much competition. Everyone always compares me to Tats and Konzo. They're like, you're like, just like, Tats and Konzo, and Gareth Woods, and there's like 3 of us in the whole of South Africa, and it's already people are like, but you're just like that other guy. Whereas, so there's only space, as far as I'm concerned, in South Africa for one musical comedy, a comedian, and that's me. So I'm actually already working on plans to get rid of Tats and Konzo.
When I came here earlier tonight, I told my friends I'm coming to watch you, and it's like, oh, is that the guy that's almost like Tats?
See, exactly. This is what you get. And we're not similar, me and Tats. It's just that we both do musical comedy.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm going to get rid of him. And I've just realized the wisdom of telling my evil plans on a podcast.
Not necessarily
now
very
you've got
wise.
proof. Now you've got proof. But he is doing a fantastic job hosting SA's Got Talent. And maybe he'll do such a good job that he'll become a TV host full-time and stop musical comedy. We can only hope.
Well, I hold thumbs for you for that.
If you hear this, which you probably won't.
Probably won't.
I love you.
He does. I don't know you,
Tats.
so.
I love you, Tats. And people do not understand the subtle differences between your act and mine.
Like, you're much lighter.
Yeah, a lighter in complexion.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's got all those songs like about these like songs which are like based on like quieter songs that I don't know. And then like he plays them and like lots of black people laugh, and I'm like laughing as well, but I'm just laughing so that I can act down. And really, to be honest, I don't know the song.
It's okay.
Whereas I base my songs on like the Beatles. That's how white I am.
Do you really listen to a lot of the Antwoord, by the way?
I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Antwoord, and particularly with with Ninja.
Yeah.
Because I was going to Tour 6 when I was in high school, and he was Max Normal back then. And so to watch him change so dramatically, like there were a lot of people, and at first, a lot of my friends and me, we were a bit skeptical of the Antwoord because it's so different to what we expected. It's dumb in a way compared to his lyrics when he was Max Normal, but it's more intelligent in another way in terms of its concept, in terms of the fact that it is a pop act, which is completely messing with pop. And that's what I do love about them, and I've come to appreciate it more and more. Now that I get it fully, I'm like, yeah, that's great shit. I mean, the stuff they're doing now, it's unbelievable that they've gotten at such a huge platform and they're so big. But I think even in that new song, there's like like Ninja says something along those lines, like, well, you might hate us, but what would you prefer? There's other like auto-tune hip-hop crap that's out there. It's like at least they're doing something a little bit different, at least in terms of pop that's out there. At least they've got concept behind different. It, at least. It's also, I mean, like very dumb but very clever at the same time.
Okay. Well, I need to know, do you listen to rock?
I listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and I do listen to rock, but I'm very specific about what kind of rock I listen to.
Favorite South African bands?
My favorite South African bands. Well, I'm like kind of old school. When I kind of started listening to music, there were bands out like Wonderboom and stuff like that, and I still respect those kind of bands. But in terms of the new stuff, I mean, like, I have to say I'm more into like Jack Parrow or whatever than I'm into like the Devils, Fantasties and all of that sort of stuff. That kind of rock, yeah, I'm not sure which would be my favorite. I mean, I love Not My Dog. See, I'm old school. All my references are like that. All my references are like 10 years old. Yeah, Foko Politica I like and I respect the music, but there's something about our front row, front coke, the way he's like, yeah, he's going things like this. I don't know why.
I can tell you why. He told me the other day, it's basically because someone said that you can't pitch, just sing as loud as you can so that they don't, realize it.
He's a very nice guy. I mean, yeah. And also when I was, I did a show with Aking, we were doing a show, and I was there, and I met them, and they're like really nice guys, but also really hardcore party animals, and I have no idea how they pull that off, because I always think that like that's kind of old school, that idea of like being a rock star but actually partying that hard, but
it still happens.
Can do it. I can't actually get over that, and I really respect them. I mean, you can't mess with the way those guys have just carved their own niche, and but I mean, in terms of my own musical taste, I prefer, like in terms of Afrikaans music, like Bitter Einde. And I guess I like stuff a bit quirky and a bit, and like Yesterday's Pupil, that sort of stuff appeals to me a little bit more than the straight rock and roll.
Okay.
Although I do like Foot and My Dance and all of that stuff, I respect that music, you know. But you'd more likely find me listening to like Bitter Ender.
Oh, I like that.
But I also listen to a lot of hip hop, listen to a lot of electronica.
Well,
in terms of rock bands, my favorite rock bands in the world are like Cake and Beck and weird bands like that. And it's when
them.
Yeah, it's when you hear that you realize like where I'm coming. Like I've got very weird taste in music. Like there's a lot of rock that like Foo Fighters and whatever stuff that people love, and I just don't get it, you know. Whereas I loved Nirvana, I loved grunge, I loved Pearl Jam and all of that. That's kind of what I grew up on. And then I lost that passion for rock for a while. I mean, there's certain bands, like I think System of a Down, Rage Against the Machine, just like blow me away. I love it, like even Tool. But then there's other rock bands which are just, you know,
so maybe you need to focus on starting a show for like a hard rock comedy show.
I mean, for ages I've been wanting, first of all, I feel very, you know, the acoustic guitar is cool and all, but when I was little, I used to have an electric guitar, like in high school, I had an electric guitar, and I used to put on distortion and jump around my bedroom, and there's something that you can't beat about that feeling, and I actually realized the other day that I need to get back to that one way or another, I'm going to introduce electric guitar into my act, and when I get successful enough, I'm definitely going to incorporate a band. But the thing is, now I'm not at the level yet where, you know, people, you know, cost, you know, like it would cost money to have a band. But
so if you're Trevor level.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to, even not even Trevor level, because no one's Trevor level. That's like, you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. He's doing a fortnight at the Lyric and 1,500 words. There's no one else in South Africa. You know, his closest rivals in terms of fame aren't on that level. You know, so, but if I was, no, but I mean, but I could be. I think when I get to the stage where I've got like 50,000 people on Twitter, that's probably when I'll be getting enough like corporate work and stuff like that I can say, now I'm getting a band. I'd love to get a band, but what I might do is I actually met these kids the other day at Gin, and they were like saying, come jam, come, and what I might do is start a little side project and just like rock out in a band. That can be fun. Because I do miss being like a real musician. You know?
Oh yeah, mind you, I did read that you were a real musician.
Well, I was bad, so I don't know if real is the right word, but
you had it in your heart.
Yeah, I did. The music was in my soul.
Awesome. Well,
it wasn't in anyone else's soul.
I don't want to waste more of your time. So, last words of final wisdom for life.
This is time I could be drinking. You know, like I could have had about 8 beers.
Let's go to the bar.
Yeah. My final words of wisdom is, what's that thing about how you must wear sunscreen?
Yeah. And
you must look left and right before you cross the road, and you must floss. No one wants to have sex with someone with cheese teeth. I can't stress the importance of flossing enough. You really, really have to floss. And also, if you have sex, use a condom. Look left and right before you cross the street. It's all really common sense when you think about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. And I'm shaking his hand now. Just by the way.
Thank you, Mr.
Listen to the handshake. Appreciate it, Mr. Deep Fried Man.
Thank you for coming through, and it's good to finally put a face to the name.
Awesome.
These people who you like talk to on Twitter, and then you forget that they're real life people too.
Apparently, yes. Large in life. Thanks for your time. We'll chat to you soon.
But you've at least got an avatar which people can identify as being you. Because then sometimes there's people I talk to a lot on Twitter, but their avatar will be like a picture of a puppy or something.
Well,
so then I meet
some of them are bitches.
But it's so awkward because then you meet that person and they're like, but how come you don't recognize me from Twitter? Because your avatar's a puppy.
Oh, I know.
Why?
Or a street.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to street.
Yeah.
In any case, I'm going to talk.
That's my final advice: is make your avatar on Twitter your face.
Amen.